None of this makes any sense. Does anybody understand Greek? Because I can't read any of this. Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to Zomboland Gaming. I am Zombo Skater, and as promised, so we've done the game Turing Complete. Well, not all of it, a couple of them. We are not complete with Turing Complete. But in that, I said that I was going to start making a real-world digital theory 101. And I've started that. We've got our first episode of that out. But I also wanted to bring it to Minecraft. And so, obviously there's difference between Redstone and Minecraft and difference between real-world electronics. But there's a lot that ties together. So I am bringing this series. We are going to explain Digital Theory 101. We're going to cover a bunch of topics that aren't actually utilized inside Minecraft, but it'll help with when you're creating circuits and stuff like that inside Minecraft. Knowing some of the real world stuff can help you to then like get rid of it to then make Minecraft stuff. It doesn't really make much sense, but it will as we go along. But also, you know, you might get interested to go off and make your own things in the real world based on some of the stuff that you can learn through here. So I do have a whole nother series that's definitely way more less fun than this is going to be, because obviously this is Minecraft. We get that flashing lights and all sorts of cool things all over the place. So we are going to get into chapter 1 of Digital Theory, and I'm going to change my view back. Woohoo! So we have yeah, we have all that to cover, a lot of words. So the first part of this is going to be a lot of just writing in block letters, because it's got to cover the basics, right? But so, I mean, this is what we're going to get to. So, I mean, you kind of see a little clock circuit thing here with a bunch of little torches and repeaters and things that, well, this circuit is pointless. Let me just put it that way. It's just lights flashing around. But we're going to end up creating circuits like that. So chapter 1, the basics. So binary, digital, Boolean, logic gates, whatever you want to call all of this stuff, right? It starts out with binary. 1, 0, on, off. 1, 0 in regular real world electricity. 5 volts is on, 0 volts is off. Depending, it might be inverted and you go the opposite way around. But here in Minecraft, as we're going to see later on as we start getting into building circuits, Minecraft doesn't have a difference in power. It would be considered direct current, DC, because it doesn't go back and forth like an AC and alternating current circuit does. But it doesn't have a difference in power level for the most part. So, as any of you who have played around with redstone might have noticed, that if you go 15 blocks with a piece of redstone dust, then you have to make the signal carry on again with a repeater, or using a block and a repeater coming out of it, or a torch or something to extend that signal. Or if you put a comparator on it, then you can compare that signal strength and get various signal strengths out. But it doesn't quite work that way. It's basically on off. You get the same exact amount of power level, as we'll see later on down the line. But for the purposes of real world scenario, you have a higher voltage and a lower voltage, and it can be varying in between. We don't have to worry about that, which is nice. It's going to simplify our circuits. And then once again, these 5 lines here are just different names for this. On, off, 1, 0, 5 volts, 0 volts, high, low, true, false. If you've ever programmed anything, true, false would be the statements that you're using for binary. 1 being true, 0 being false. All right, moving on. Number codes. So there's different ways to interpret it. The signals that are coming down the line. Decimal is something that all of us know. We grow up you going to school learning 0 through 9 and everything in between. So that is a system called base 10. Now everything that we want to display on 7-segment displays or wherever, you know, blocks popping out from pistons that are showing letters and numbers and whatnot, that's going to be our decimal output. That's typically how we're going to use decimal, is for outputs. So base 10, meaning that there's 10 numbers. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And here's an example of that, right? And here's going back to some grade school stuff, and not so much of a grade school kind of way. But so if we have the number 736, and I put the little 10 here to let you know that it's a base 10, a decimal system, well, what that equals is we've got the ones place, which is the 6, the threes place, which is the tens place, sorry, the 3, which is in the tens place, and the 7, which is in the hundreds place. What we get over here is like a little equation that helps us show how that number works in decimal. So for the first number, which is a 7, that is 7 times 10 to the 2. And if you remember your powers, the power, which is the 2, just means 10 times 10. So that's 2 tens. So it gets us 7 times 2 tens, or 100, gets us 700. The next one would be the 3 in the tens place. Be 3 times 10 to the 1, because it is the tens place. It's just 10 times it's 1. So we get 30. And then we get the last number, which is 6 times 10 to the 0. And anything to the power of 0 is 1. Doesn't matter if it's 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 437, doesn't matter. Anything to the power of 0 is 1. And that's what we kind of want anyway, because it's the ones place. So 6 times 1 equals 6. You add them all together, that equals 736. Bam, decimal done. Moving on to binary. Now, this is the one that we're mainly going to use almost exclusively. And binary is a base 2 system because it only has 2 numbers, a 0 and a 1. So an example of binary, here'd be a 5-bit digit right here. We've got 11100. Now, they read left to right, just like a decimal number would. So you got 736 over there. Well, over here, instead of it being 736, each one of these is a multiple of 2, but starting out with 1. So we got 1 multiplied by 2 is 2, multiplied by 2 is 4, multiplied by 2 is 8, multiplied by 2 is 16. So over here, what we're going to see is a similar setup. The 2 indicates that it's base 2. We've got 1 times 2 to the 4th, because if we come over here, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So this is going to start off with 0, power of 0, power of 1, power of 2, power of 3, power of 4. So 1 times 2 to the 4, 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is 16. 1 times 2 to the 3 is 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. 1 times 2 to the 2, 2 times 2 is 4. 0 times 2 to the 1 doesn't really matter because it's times 0, so 0. And 0 times 2 to the 0 is also 0. You add them all together, you've got 12 plus 16 is 28. And this is just showing that it's a 5-bit system. So if we keep adding numbers here, 0 and 1, or so on and so forth, that's adding what we call bits. Each one of these numbers is a bit individually. And then 8 of them together make a byte. All right, so now we're going to convert it. We're going to show you how to go from decimal to binary or binary to decimal back and forth, because that's going to be important for when we want to take our signals coming down all these different systems that we're going to be creating down the line. We want to be able to know how to take the signals, which are going to be in binary, and translate them back into decimal for our displays and things like that. So we've got this really big number here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 numbers, which means 8 bits, and it is a binary because we have the 2. So one thing to note is the very far left number is what's called the most significant bit, and I believe I wrote that out right here. Yes, I did. So the very far left number, and this works the same way in decimal. The biggest number in decimal is going to be your most significant bit. The one on the right is going to be your least significant bit, because ones place versus 100's place, 100 is more significant than 1. So what we're going to do here is we're going to write this number out. We're going to make it a little bit bigger so we can see what's going on here. And once again, you start off on the right side, and it's going to, look at this. These 2s are 5s. That is highly confusing. How about we fix that? Oh God, I'm breaking everything. I'm breaking everything. I do not want to fill that with that. Let's replace this with the proper numbers. Hello, that's a 2. That's a 2. Thank you. Thank you for being a 2. Good job. So 2 to the 0, 2 to the 1, 2 to the 2, 2 to the 3, 2 to 4, 2 to 5, 2 to the 6, 2 to the 7. That's 8. And so all we're going to do here is follow these lines down. And we're basically just making this look a little bit simpler. We're stacking it up like addition here. So 0 times 2 to the 0 equals 0. 0 times 2 to the 1 also equals 0. Our first 1 here is going to be 4. 2 to the 3, 0. 2 to the 4 times 0, 0. 1 times 2 to the 5 is 32. 0 times 2 to the 6 equals 0. 1 times 2 to the 7 equals 128. And that all added together, starting all the way down there from the least significant bit all the way to the most significant bit, gets you 164. And this is not in binary, Nate. This is not. And this is how I'm writing these right here. Bam. Put that in the wrong spot. Bam, 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 bam. There we go. Base 10. You didn't see nothing. That always said base 10. So that's how we do that. And basically, anytime you see binary to get it to decimal, that's all you're going to do. Just take each individual number to its power, starting with the least significant bit, going to the most significant bit, add them all up. You got your decimal. Now, decimal to binary is actually kind of fun. I like it. So we've got an example here of 109 in decimal. All you're going to do is divide that number by 2. So because we're doing this division by 2, you're always either going to have 0 remainder because it evenly divides, or you're going to have just 1. What you're going to do here is you're going to divide it. In the case of 109, we got 54. 54 plus 54 is 108, which means we have 1 left over. So this remainder is going to stay here in this line here. And what you're going to do is you're going to take that number that you divided, put it over here, and divide it again. So in this case, we get 27 with no remainder. Move the 27 over, divided by 2, you get 13 with 1 over. 13 divided by 2 equals 6. 1 left over. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Nothing left over. 3 divided by 2 equals 1. With 1 left over, 1 divided by 2 is 0 because, you know, it technically would be 0.5, but we don't have 0.5s in this, so it's going to be 0 with 1 left over. And so then the bottom number is going to be your most significant bit. The last division you do will be your most significant bit. The very first division you do will be your least significant bit. And all you're going to do is then just go, whoop, tilt it on its side. And look, there we go. So this is our number in binary. And we can check this out by going 1 plus 4 is 5, plus 8 is 13, plus 32. That's 32, right? Yeah, plus 32. What did I say? What, 13? 13 plus 32 is 5. Carry the 1 divided by 7, plus 6, 4. It's 109. Don't make me do math. Please don't make me do math without a calculator. That's 109. and binary. So that's how you do that. So it's binary to decimal and then decimal back to binary. Pretty simple, to be honest. And now we're going to move into, there's a couple more. Octal, which really isn't used, but for the case of Minecraft can kind of be beneficial. And then hexadecimal. Octal, oct meaning 8, is a base 8 system. And so we use 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now what this does is that basically you take a binary number and you go whoop, separate it out, which is going to make things a little bit smaller for going down your circuitry. So an example of this would be 247 in octal is going to be now doing the same thing we've been doing. Start off on the least significant bit is 0 to, you know, whatever base number. So in this case, 8 to the 0, 8 to the 1, 8 to the 2. And we lay it all out. And you can see that we've got a number here of 73. Wait, 73? Oh, no, sorry. 2 times 64, which would be 128, plus 32, plus 7 equals 167. Math. Why am I doing this with math? Ones and zeros are so much easier to add. So yeah, so basically that's how that works, right? So it's the same as how we've done everything else before. It's just using a base of 8 instead of a base of 10 or 2. So here we're going to take octal to binary because we already know how to take binary to decimal, so we don't have to take octal all the way to decimal. If we figure out how to take it to binary, you can take the binary to decimal now. So our example here is 537 in octal. And so if we take 5, all we're going to do is take the binary number for 5, which in this case is 101, because we have 1 in the 1's place, nothing in the 2's place, 1 in the 4's place. 4 plus 1 makes 5. Then we got 3, 1 plus 2 in binary makes 3. And then 7, 1 plus 2 plus 4 makes 7. And then all you do is you just take that and squish it together, and there you go, you got your binary. And now to go from binary to octal, just reverse that. Start with your binary, separate it out into groups of 3, and now say you have a number that's only like a non-divisible by 3 number, then you just keep adding zeros to the leftmost side, so you'll have a new most significant bit that will be a 0 instead of a 1. And that way you can separate your groups out nicely into groups of 3, and then just whatever that binary group of 3 is, turn it into the decimal number, which then actually becomes octal. So like in the case of this, you notice that we've only got 3 things that could be here. 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 110 001 101 011 111. So there's only 3 places. So we can't ever get higher than the number 7 here, which is where we get our octal. Now, hexadecimal is basically the exact same thing as octal, but it's a base of 16. So some of you might have seen hexadecimal before. Typically, you'll see it with like color representation when you're trying to do like RGB colorization and like any HTML thing or something like that. Generally, that's going to be in a hexadecimal form, and you will just type in the hexadecimal code, and then that signifies a particular color in HTML, and bam, there you go. Then you get your color and your background or whatever. But so the difference here is that instead of just going 0 through 9, well, we don't want to do the number 10 because we already have a 1 and a 0. We don't want to do the number 11 because we already have a 1, so on and so forth. So what it does is that 9, it goes A, B, C, D, E, F. And that's going to be our 16. And so when you transfer this over, what you'll see is A is technically 10, B is 11, C is 12, D is 13, E is 14, and F is 15. That's going to be the big difference here. So an example of this would be 2D5. Seems kind of weird, right? You got a letter D in there, but notice how much smaller 2D5 is than if we come all the way down here to the end to see what our decimal number is. 725 in decimal. It's going to be a pretty damn big binary number, so we don't want to deal with that. So 2D5, we're going to use the same system as we have before. The 5 is going to have base 0. D is, or not base 0, power 0. The D is going to have power 1. The 2 is going to have power 2. And so now we're using 16. So 16 to the 2 is 256. Times that by 2. And I messed up down there, didn't I? It's not 712. Oh, yeah, sorry. That'd be 512. That'd be 512. I can't do math. And then the D, what we've got here in the brackets is showing that the D is equal to 13 in decimal. So instead of having to try and figure out how to do that, okay, this is going to be our actual number here. So 13 times 16. Don't ask me what that is. 5 times 1 is 5. All added up together it equals 725. I swear I did this with a calculator, not with my head. So I wrote it down, but the math, 13 times 16, what is that? 100 plus 18? I don't know. It's some number, some big number. So hex to binary and back, right? So now that we know how hex is written, what we have here is an example of 3E9 to the 16. So that's base 16. It works exactly like octal, except for instead of groups of 3, you group them in groups of 4. This is really commonly used nowadays, especially when you want to like address stuff. Like say you have millions of places for addressing inside a RAM chip or a erasable programmable read-only memory chip or something like that. If you want to do more than one thing at a time, you can actually send a hex signal down the line because it uses only 3 instead of, well, in this case, you see the big giant number that's in front of me of 12 bits, which, you know, we may not have a 12-bit system, so we may not be able to even send this. So all we do here is the same as we did in octal. We've got 3 with 1100 being the representation of 3, and notice we just add the zeros to the front just to fill in that 4. We've got E, which we know is 13, so we're going to write 13 in binary, which is 1110, and then 9, which is 1001. And then you just take that whole thing and just go and squish it together. And then you just flip it the other direction to go from binary back to hex. You just separate that binary number out into groups of 4, and then figure out what the number would be in hex from there. And then squish it back together again. So now, one of the last two, there's only 2 more things really as far as number coding systems go. We're going to talk about one here in a little bit, but first we're going to talk about binary coded decimal. Typically, and I'm not going to show the calculations for this, because typically you'll never have to do the calculations, because most of the time you can just simply do binary to decimal and back again. But what this is it's just taking a very simplified number to be able to send a signal to like a 7-segment display. You know, I want only this to display the number 1. I only want this to display the number 5, so on and so forth. So in the case of my example here, we have 150 for the base 2, because this is going to be a binary coded decimal. Technically, I probably should have written that differently. But so what you're going to see here, actually, I think this is going to be decimal. Let me do that. Hold on. Let me make this less confusing by telling you that this is decimal. And I have a feeling the Minecraft music is absolutely ridiculously loud. Hold on, let me turn that down. Options, music sounds, blah, go away. I like you, Minecraft music, but you're a little loud. So, okay, sorry, it's 150 in decimal, right? So we got 1, 5, and 0, and all you simply do is take each individual decimal number and convert it into its binary form. So now instead of having 150 in binary, you just have 1 in binary, 5 in binary, 0 in binary. You send it down the line to like a 7-segment display. It reconverts it to just show those 3 numbers up on a screen. So you can have this as the 1's digit on your 7 segment, your 10's digit, and your 100's digit on the 7 segment. And now instead of having to send this big number of binary signal all the way down the line, you can just send the 3 of these individually off to their own 7-segment displays. And that's typically what it's used for. So we may get into that when we start building circuits, but probably really not. So, okay, so we haven't talked about negative numbers. Everything we've talked about has been positive. So there's 2 ways. 2 ways that we can convert to negative numbers in binary, because, I mean, we only have 0 and 1. There's no negatives there, right? So how do we get a negative number? And the 2 ways that we do this is called sign magnitude. And all this is doing is basically taking your most significant bit, and whether it's a 0 or a 1 is going to tell your 7-segment display or something else inside your program that you need to make the negative symbol. Just that's all it's doing. If it's a 0, it's positive. Don't even worry about nothing. Just ignore the 0 altogether. It's a positive number. If it's a 1, that means you need to add the negative symbol in front of the number, and hey, we know we're a negative number now. Of course, that does mean, though, that your most significant bit now cannot be used for the actual number. It can only solely be used for assigning a negative sign. So an example here would be 1000101, which the 1001, as we know, as we've seen over there, is the number 9 in binary. But that 1 on the front of it indicates that we need to put this negative symbol here. If we see the 0 that's over there, and now we have 23 in binary. Yes, I cheated. I looked over to the right. It says 23 in binary. The 0 means that it's positive. Don't have to worry about nothing. You know, this actually wouldn't even be here. I just put it here simply to show you that it's a positive number. But so 23 just ignores the rest of it and just says, okay, that's all I'm looking for. It's really not used very often. Calculators may use it, things like that. We're probably never ever going to use this because we want to be able to use our most significant bit for actual numbers. So what we're going to do instead is called the 2's complement. So complement means what goes with, right? So in this case, it's going to be the opposite of. Like, if you look at like colors on a color wheel, you look for the complement color, they're going to go together. They're typically the opposite color when you look at them, but that these 2 opposite colors look really good together. So here, if it's a 0, it becomes a 1. If it's a 1, it becomes a 0. That's the kind of the deal here. So what we're going to do here, if a decimal number, if you have a positive decimal number, converting it to binary, you just straight convert it to binary. You don't have to worry about anything. You just go straight to binary. But if it's a negative decimal number, first what you have to do is convert that. I should have said convert to binary, not convert to decimal. So you're going to convert that decimal number to binary. And let's go ahead and correct this, because otherwise it's going to be highly confusing if you guys play back and do not see what I am seeing. Binary. I can spell. I promise I can spell. Sure, let's make our Y like this. It's so hard to put blocks down from up above. I don't even know if that's how I've been making my Ys. There we go. Now that's going to make more sense. All right. So you take that decimal number, convert it straight into binary, exactly what the positive binary number would be. Then the next step is you take that binary number and invert it. So all the ones become zeros, all the zeros become ones. That step is called the ones complement. Then what you're going to do is you're going to add 1. You're just going to add 1 to the least significant bit. So the example here, and then that number becomes your 2's complement. That is the final product. So say we've got negative 41 in decimal. We know this is going to be a negative number, so we know we have to go through those 3 steps I just listed. So the true binary. So that's what we call, if you have a positive decimal number, that binary that you get is called the true binary. So the same step still holds true for the first step of negative decimal numbers, is the true binary. So negative 41 in binary, right here you've got 32 plus 8 makes 40 plus 1 makes 41. Hey, look at me, I did math, yay. So then what we're going to do is take the ones complement. So 0 becomes 1, 1 becomes 0, so on and so forth down the line. Now that is our ones complement number. And then just like I said before, we're going to add 1 to the least significant bit. And then that becomes our binary number. So this is our 2's complement number. And as you can see, the only thing that really changed here is 0 plus 1 makes 1. And we'll get into adding here in a little bit, but 0 plus 1 makes 1. That is our 2's complement number. So that's how we're going to be able to utilize negative and positive numbers. Now, one of the things to note here means that we're, instead of say like an 8-bit system, when you add the 1, the 2, the 4, the 8, the 16, the 32, the 64, and the 128 is what the numbers for the 8 bits would be. 255 plus a 0. So technically you have 256 numbers total in that system. When you do the 2's complement, it means you're going to have a negative 127 to 0, then up to positive 127. So you're not going to be able to go over or below negative 127 or positive 127. So it's something to take note when you're making your circuits and whatnot, is the limitation of that. And I actually, did I get into, I don't think no, I didn't get into adding. We're going to get into adding in the next episode. So the last bit we're going to talk about here is called ASCII. So we actually may utilize this when we get to the point of actually building a computer inside Minecraft. Like say when we like put a keyboard out in front of our computer that you can like go stand on a pressure plate and it indicates the same thing that are on the keys of a keyboard. We have what's called ASCII, and it stands for the American Standard Code for Information Interchange, which I did not know until a week ago. I've heard of ASCII and used ASCII for many years, and I never actually knew what it stood for. Yeah, American Standard Code for Information Interchange. We all learn things with this. So what it is it's 128 different 7-bit codes. So you've got 7 binary numbers there, and they all mean a different thing. And they're usually all pre-set up, and that's the whole standard here, is that you can look up a table online. If you just type an ASCII list, you'll be able to pull up a list that shows every single one of these. And what they are is, in this case, binary for zeros, all zeros in the 7 bits, all the way up through, what is that? That is 15 plus 32. No, 15 plus 16. So 31. So 0 all the way up to 31. Yeah, 31. Sure, we'll go with that. My math might be absolutely wrong. 8 plus 4 makes 12, plus 2 makes 14, plus 15, plus 16 makes 31. Yes. Yes. All right. So what those do, they're non-printing characters. So like your function key, things that when you press them on your keyboard, do something like escape. Escape does something inside your program, but it doesn't actually put it up on the screen for you. It doesn't show you that you hit escape. It may bring up a menu, but it doesn't tell you that like you've escaped, right? It doesn't like print the word escape on a screen. Or if you hit the delete key or the home key or the page down, page up key, those are all ASCII related. They just don't, it's a non-printing character, meaning it doesn't display that it did something for you. And then special commands. How about this should be commands? Doesn't commands also have 2 M's? Hold on, this just absolutely looks right. Man, I should proofread my non-written block letters. That still doesn't look right. Whatever. Special commands like escape, delete, things like that. So now the rest of it from basically 64 all the way up to 255. So that's a whole lot of them. That's the printing characters. So like whenever you've seen like memes in like a Reddit post where somebody's drawn a tank with all the different characters on a TV, or an anime girl, that's all been done with all the keys. Or if you're typing inside, MS Word or, anything like that, right? All those are printing characters. So your asterisks, your at symbols, your A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, brackets, commas, apostrophes, question marks, ampersands, tilde key, all those things, right? Those are all printable characters, which is why there's so many more of them in the code than for the non-printing characters. So we may utilize this if we create a keyboard inside Minecraft. Otherwise, maybe we'll use it to display something on a 7-segment display for some silly reason. I don't know. What you also will typically see is that because it's only 7 bits, right, and most likely we're going to create an 8-bit computer, well, that leaves 1 bit that's not doing anything. So we can use that most significant bit for, we'll add a 0 or add a 1 to the very far left. That either lets us know, don't worry about it, just ignore it because it's a 0, it's not doing anything. Or we can use that 1 as a flag for error checking. Like we actually do this at my work when we're doing a lookup matrix to look up barcodes on tires. We could use this 1's bit, or sorry, the 128 bit, the 8th bit. Good lord, I'm probably confusing you guys now. The 8th bit spot, which would be number 128, to look to see for if there's any errors in what I sent versus what got received, or what's receiving to sending, to make sure we don't have any errors there. Or I could say, hey, you got a 1, I want you to also do this command as well. So I could have it send multiple characters. I could have it do some other flag function or something else like that. So it can be pretty helpful and beneficial. So that is the very, very basics, right? Next episode, we're going to get into what most people probably consider like the basics, and that's the logic gates, the very basic logic gates. But without this stuff, it's no point in starting off with logic gates. If you don't understand binary and octal and hex and all this stuff and how to figure out which one is which and which one are you're using, how are you going to know what to do with the logic gates in the first place? So I hope you guys enjoyed this first start. I hope you learned something. Let me know specifically what you would like to see in digital theory presented inside Minecraft. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of stuff that we won't be able to do. Anything with a capacitor, because we can't store a charge and send a charge out. Anything with a resistor, because the whole point of a resistor is to change the voltage level. It's a voltage divider. We're not changing voltage states here. Anything with kind of an inductor, because we're not going to do any kind of transformer action or creating motors. Anything like that, right? So we don't technically have transistors, even though we're going to be making logic gates. They're not based off of transistors, because transistors, which actually are used to make up the tiny little logic gates that you see in IC chips and whatnot, well, you need a biasing gate voltage to make those transistors work. Well, we don't have a difference in voltage levels inside Minecraft, hence we're not going to be able to make them work. Although we might play around with some ideas that I've had to sort of simulate those things. But for the most part, anytime we encounter a circuit that utilizes those kind of things, we are just going to basically blatantly ignore them and turn them into the best representation that Minecraft can offer. And just for shits and grins, this right here would be a NAND gate and a NAND gate. And every single one of these yellow blocks would be a NOT gate, an inverter gate. So those are things we're going to have to look forward to seeing. You start a thing. And technically, this kind of could be considered a clock circuit. I've just got it as a little flip-floppy woo going around. It's a completely pointless circuit that's just for flashy, showy lights. So anyway, this has been long enough. I'm going to get out of here. Next episode, we're going to cover just the basic logic gates. And then from there, we're going to start working into combinational logic, which is taking all those basic logic gates and shoving a whole bunch of them together to make other things come out. So anyway, leave some comments. Definitely hit like, subscribe if you want to see more of this stuff. I'm going to record it anyway. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Ta-ta for now. Bye-bye.